Hi, I'm Terry with Total Life Pursuit, and I am coming to you with another teaching on the mental series. I want you to live remarkably in your mental capacity, not just intellect, but and your thought life, but being able to understand that you have control. Do you know that? You have control. You're not the product of your parents or your teachers or your culture or the society. You're not the product of that. You're the product of your choices. You choose how you will think. You say, wait a second, I kind of am the product. Well, not anymore. You're an adult. When you were a kid, when you were maybe even a teenager, yeah, you were the product. Yeah, it's pretty hard to go against the grain of being raised in a certain family. But as I've gotten older, the one thing I know is this: I'm not a victim to anything of my childhood, and you're not a victim either. And that's freedom, people. That is freedom. So if you can get that, like, I don't have to think like this, I don't have to behave like this, because you behave how you think. Are you with me when you say, that's just not like him? Actually, that is like him. That's how he thinks. So he just needs to get rid of the thinking, just like you do, just like I do, that causes these behaviors that we all hate. Do you have any behaviors that you don't like? Man, God's still working on me. So he's still renewing my mind. We've talked about that in the former teachings, renewing your mind. I won't go over that again. But what I will go over again is this: thoughts that you have are structures. Thoughts are structures in your head. They are actual physical structures. The things you believe, like say, you believe that you are fat, okay? You believe that you are bad at math. When any input comes in, it goes through that thought or belief system, foundation, and it says, see, you're fat. Maybe some people say, I'll always be fat, or I'll always be dumb. I'm just too dumb to do this. Just reminding myself, I so did this for so long, because I'm not a mechanical genius, okay? I'm not going to say I'm not mechanical, because that was like someone saying I'll always be angry or fat or dumb. I'm just not gifted at it. I'm not a genius at it. I know guys who are, and I'm not one of them. However, I can do mechanical things. But I used to say all the time, I'm just not mechanical. I just can't do this. I just can't figure it out. That was it was my thinking, it was my speaking, and it was my behavior. And then I found the keys that I'm telling you about in this series, and I changed. I'm still not a mechanical genius. I don't have to lie to myself and say, "Oh no, you're such a mechanical genius." I know people say that, like, "Oh, I'm so good at singing." Oh wait, yeah, that was on America's Got Talent, and we watched it just to laugh at those people. It was so sad that I was laughing at them. But you know the people who think they can really sing, but they can't sing. And then you know the people who say, oh, I just can't sing, and they don't sing. Are you with me? Because there's people that can't sing very well, but they could sing a little better, especially if they believed they could sing better, but they've been told their whole life that they can't. What have you been told your whole life you can't? I'm here to tell you that you can rewrite that. You can renew that into I can. And you may not go to the Olympics for it. You may not be on the Academy Award, stage for it, but you can become way better than you are and proficient at it. I am positive of that. So to get rid of the thought structures, the I can't, you have to have an I can. So you don't concentrate on the I can, or I can't, you concentrate on the I can. And we're going to go over that in the next teaching. What I want you to know today is that you can. You can get rid of that thought structure, but you have to replace it with another one, because you just can't keep saying to yourself, okay, I'm not going to think about cookies. I'm not going to think about cookies. I'm not going to think about cookies. What are you doing? You're thinking about cookies. So you can't say I'm going to get rid of something by thinking about it. It's actually by doing something very opposite. So I am not talented at writing. I hate writing. I'm not a good writer. That has to be replaced by, you know what? I'm not a fan of writing, but I can write. I can write. Okay, are you with me so far? Is that good? Okay, Israel was fixed in fear because of the Philistine army. What must they have been believing? I'll tell you what they're believing. That guy's too big for us. We can't win. I'm not good enough. Let me tell you something else they were thinking. God can't do it either, or God isn't with us. You had to be thinking of one thing, because there's this little shepherd boy who came up, and he was thinking something quite different. Like, how come you guys are just sitting here? Why don't you go down there and fight him? I'll fight him. God's with me. So he believed that he could do it because he was strengthened and powered by God, that God was with him. The army of Israel obviously didn't believe that. David said, I'll kill the guy. Everyone else said, that guy's going to kill me. Elijah had seen a great victory on Mount Carmel. Do you remember this story? So Elijah and the prophets of Baal, and they got sacrifices together, and it didn't work out so good for the prophets of Baal, and worked out for Elijah because God is God. And so they slaughtered all the prophets of Baal because he was like, listen, if God is God, let's serve God. If Baal is God, let's serve Baal. And so God showed himself to be God, and Baal didn't. So all the people killed the prophets of Baal. And so that was pretty cool. Then he went to the hillside, and it hadn't rained in 3.5 years. And he got down on his knees, and he prayed until he saw clouds in the sky, or his servant saw clouds in the sky. So his prayer precipitated precipitation. Did you like that? It's just a teacher thing. Okay, so his prayer got it to rain. Are you with me? He just had a great victory, fire from heaven, consuming the sacrifices. The prophets of Baal slaughtered, the people of Israel choosing to serve God. Now there's going to be rain in the land. The famine's going to end. And this is what happened from there. Jezebel said, I'm going to kill you. And you know what he did? He ran away. This is why I love Elijah, because he's such a mighty man. But he's got this vulnerability inside. Why? Because of his foundational belief system. His belief system knew that he could kick booty up on Mount Carmel. His belief system knew that he could pray in rain and in the drought. But his belief system did not believe that God could protect him from a woman in the palace. And so he ran. Why do I like him? Well, because he's just like me. Because that's me sometimes. You know, I'm believing for this, yeah. I'm believing for this, yeah. But I'm not believing for that. You ever wonder why? I'm going to tell you why. Your foundational belief system doesn't believe it. So what influences your thought life? The other day, the Lord said to me, you're reading and watching too much stuff on politics. You need to read and watch more stuff about my kingdom. Got me right there. Because he doesn't want me to know about politics or what's happening? No. Because he wants me to major on his kingdom. He wants that to be the influence. He wants that to be what is going through my mind, what I'm thinking about. David said, I set the Lord before me, my eyes always. So what's before our eyes? So what influences you? Movies, media, popular thought, news channels, schooling, people with PhDs. How about them? Well, he has a PhD, so what he has to say is true. Who do you think is right? What do you think about? What do you ponder on? What do you talk about when you get in a group? What do you talk about? What kind of influence does that have on you? You say, oh, that doesn't influence me. I can watch a movie. It has zero influence on me. I know it's all fake. It's okay. All the blood and gore and things like, or video games and Need for Speed where you pick up girls and like you hit them and rape them and do all kinds of manner of evil. I don't know if that's Need for Speed. I don't know. I don't know what game, but there's a game that does that. And it's barbaric. It's terrible. You say, I know that's not real. That's just all fake stuff. So anything that's fake, you can watch, and it doesn't affect you. You know, science doesn't say that. As a matter of fact, when you watch the action movie, you know what science says? You have adrenaline boost just like you're there. Because it does affect you. You think, no, I got it clear in my mind. It doesn't affect me. I could watch whatever and it doesn't affect me. Could you watch porn and it not affect you? Well, not porn. I mean, pornography, that's a whole... It's just a movie. Yeah, but they're really, Does it affect you? Naked bodies? Would it affect you? Of course it would affect you. It affects everybody. Of course. But you're just seeing it on a screen. Does it affect you? Of course it does. I'm not saying don't watch movies. Of course I'm not saying that. Goodness sakes, my pastor is like a movie buff. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying watch out what they're preaching. Watch out what they're saying. You can watch CNN and they're left wing. You can watch Fox News and they're right wing, and they spin everything. Well, I don't want to say they spin everything because I don't know if it's everything. But they spin so much to what they believe and they want you to hear. Do you believe it? Well, Fox is really reliable. Is it? Do they say the truth? How do you know? Did you check it out? Are you letting them just influence you and the way you think? What do you dream about? When you daydream, you don't daydream? I'll give you some of mine. I daydream. What do you talk about when you talk? What subjects are predominant? What do you listen to? What podcasts do you listen to? What music do you listen to? What are they saying? The Lord said, don't even talk about that. So what do you listen to? What are they saying and what are they preaching? One of the things I have people do when I have them go through one of my TLP courses is I have them write down what every commercial that they see, what they are saying, what they're really saying. They're saying, it used to be like, you'll get a pretty girl if you drink this beer, and she's going to love you. Or Carl's Jr. is like, you look at pretty girls who eat this hamburger, or I don't know what they were trying to prove. But every advertisement is preaching something. And I have people write down, what are they trying to teach you? That if you eat this, you'll be cool. If you eat this, you'll be slim, you'll be healthy. If you eat this, you'll be in with the crowd. What are they teaching you? What are they preaching? What are you being taught as truth? What do you accept as truth? And from whom? Your friends? Facebook? Well, it's on Facebook. We know that to be true. Well, Snoops. If Snoops checks it out, that's... Oh, yeah, Snoops is... Yeah, it's not. Mm-mm. You just have to be wary. Now let me come to personal. How about you? Who do you let influence your life and speak into you? You have 24 to 48 hours to say yes or no to a thought. Like if someone says to me, hey, Terry, you're just not muscular. Well, I'd say, wait till I take my shirt off, okay? No, I wouldn't say that. But the reality is, I would easily dismiss it because for my age, I'm a muscular guy. I'm a very fit guy. I wouldn't even have an issue with it. If someone says, hey, you don't preach good. I think I'm a good preacher. I've been preaching a long time. Wouldn't even have an issue with it. But if someone said something that was a little closer to home, someone said, I've watched you parent your children. And I don't know that you're such a good parent. Or they criticize my parenting. Ooh, I would take that into consideration. I would mull that around in my head. Or even other things that I'm not so secure on. You ever have someone hit your insecure buttons? If you're confused about who you are and they actually challenge you in a bad way about who you are, how about it? Who gets to speak into your life? Well, my mom and dad. Do they? What do they get to say? As adults now, I get to screen that. I mean, my mom and dad are passed away, but when I was an adult, I didn't rely on them like I was a child. They don't get to speak into my life without me filtering it. Isn't that what 2 Corinthians says? I take every thought captive and make it obedient to Christ. So if the thought comes in like you aren't a good person, if someone says that, what do you mean I'm not a good person? I'm a good guy. I have a lot of good qualities. So I filter it and I'm like, beep, I just let it go, right? But there's some little things, buttons that are pushed inside of us. Who gets to push your buttons? And why do you let them? Just think if you could take that thought captive. Make it obedient to Christ. Say, Jesus, do you think the same thing about me? And he says, no. I think you look great. All right. It's time to look in the mirror and go, whoo! Man, I'm looking pretty good today. Huh, Jesus? And have a little fun with it. And absolutely deny that thought place in your heart and in your brain. So to rewrite your brain, you have to abolish the thought structures that are wrong. You have to abolish the thought structures that create fear, that create anxiety, that create depression. I just named a big three in our society. Fear, anxiety, depression. Think about the thoughts that create that in you. Write them down. And we've got to go after them. We've got to go after them. What creates just an internal sadness in you? I'm not talking about when your dog dies, okay? Of course, unless you're like, don't have feelings. If you've had a dog for a long time and it dies, of course you're sad. That's normal. I'm talking about, what do you say to yourself? What do you accept from others that creates a sadness? I'm not worthy of that. No one likes me. No one asked me to go out tonight. What do you accept? You got to get rid of that. Some things that create doubt or a low view of oneself. God has a high view of you? Okay, I haven't figured this one out. It's going to be a question that me and Jesus, we're going to talk about in heaven. Like, how did you do that? Because you knew me and you knew all my foibles and you knew every mess up that I would do. How did you have such a high view of me? How did you trust me with 8 children and so far 14 grandchildren? How did you do it? How? I'm just, it just makes you feel so good, bad, right? If I think how unworthy I am, I kind of feel bad. But if I think how blessed I am, I think, man, I feel so good. He trusts me. And maybe if we switch our mind like that, maybe we'd act a little more trustworthy. But that's another teaching. Okay, you got to get rid of the thoughts that create distorted view of God and how he thinks about you, for sure. How are you going to do that? You got to think deep and meditatively about the real truth. We're going to get to that in our next session. We're almost done with this one. You have to replace the habits you have in your life. I get up and I look at the news. Well, maybe don't start off with news. How about I get up and listen to a podcast of a very inspirational and encouraging preacher? That's a good idea. How about I get up and put a worship song on that is really, is really crushing me lately? That's a good one. Or one about the faithfulness of God or the love of God or something like that. That's a good idea. See, we can't allow our brains to be a passive sponge to accept what people say. We have to absolutely be proactive in what we do. That includes setting up patterns in our life of listening or watching or doing things that benefit our inside and especially our thinking. We cannot let our brain aimlessly wander, especially with those daydreams that actually kill us. I would like you to say what God wants you to say. That's the word confession. Homologeo, to say the same thing. Say the same thing as God. When you say what God says, you will rewrite your brain into life and hope and love and joy and peace. Let me give you a few scriptures before I close. They will speak of the glorious splendor, Psalm 145:5, of your majesty, and I will meditate on your wonderful works. Okay? Deuteronomy 11:8. Fix these words of mine in your hearts and minds. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Isaiah 26:3. You you will keep in perfect peace him whose mind is steadfast because he trusts in you. Philippians 4:8. Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about these things. So we have to think deeply. And like I said, next week we're going to talk about meditation and thinking deep. But I would just like to say this right now. Let's just change how we normally think. Let's get some good news into us. You know, Smith Wigglesworth, who was a historical mentor of mine, he would interrupt a meal, a prayer meeting, or whatever, and just pull out the Word of God because he needed to read it every hour. He'd be at a dinner at someone's house, he'd put his fork and knife down, and then he would start reading. That's just what he needed to do because he needed to wash his brain with the Word. I think that's a good idea. Set your minds on things above, not earthly things. You know, Peter says that his divine power has given us everything we need for life and godliness through the knowledge of him who called us to his own glory and goodness. Though through these he has given us these great and precious promises, so that through them you might participate in the divine nature, escaping the corruption in this world caused by evil desires. We can escape the corruption. We can escape the things that bug us so much. And the things that bug you the most are in your head. So he has given us the ability to get over those. And we can change our brain by changing what we think of and thinking deep. Change what you view. Change what you listen to. Change it. I dare you. I dare you to go off TV, movies, or whatever you normally do for a week and supplant it with something different, like God stuff. Like, you know, wherever your favorite thing is, just on TV, just, you know, look at that. You know what I mean? Okay, so next week, as I have said a few times, I know, we're going to get to meditation, thinking deep, and how to rewrite. Until then, I want you to do this. I challenge you to do this. Start getting your mind filled with the goodness of God and see what happens. I'm Terry. This is Total Life Pursuit.